Kevin here. Welcome back to Farmer Equipment Sales. It's a snowy day in February, but we're heading inside the shop to work on some wood chippers. So here's the BECO 5-inch PTO Wood Chipper. It's designed for 16 to 60 horsepower tractors. It's a very simplistic, rugged design that requires very minimal maintenance. We've stuck with this chipper over the years as opposed to one with a hydraulic infeed, because our experience with that was that hydraulic infeed just added a lot of extra complications and complexities and extra maintenance requirements that weren't really necessary. When you see this chipper operate, it actually pulls the branches in very effortlessly all by itself, and the way it does that is by, as it cuts a branch, it draws it in tight against the flywheel. Then the next knife cuts it, draws it in. That process just keeps repeating. And once you get that process started, it pulls the material in pretty effortlessly without the need of any kind of a hydraulic infeed system, which I found when I was using those, that each time you loaded a branch in, you had to spend quite a bit of time messing around with it just to get it to grab onto the branch. You had to turn the branch and press it, and just to get the feed roller to pick up on it and start pulling it in. Then you also had to adjust the feed speed all constantly. There's a little lever you had to move back and forth to make it go faster or slower depending on what size of material you were feeding. Where with this one, you just put the branch in, get that process started, and get out of the way, and it pulls it in all by itself. So I'll just go over a few of the features and a few of the maintenance points with you here. First of all, the feed hopper here can be latched in the upright position. That's mainly for transport or storage. There's a little lever right here. You just lift this up, and you can lock it into place there. It makes it a little bit more compact for storing it or for transporting it. The discharge chute, very simple to adjust. You just press down on this lever and you can turn it to any position you need. And then for maintenance access, for most of the work you're going to do on the chipper knives, there's just a single bolt right here that you remove, and you grab this handle and tip the whole top open here. That exposes the flywheel and all the sharp knives. Now I just want to take a moment and mention that these knives are very sharp on this front edge here, and when they're attached to this flywheel that can keep a lot of inertia, you have to be very careful when you're working on it. Even when this is just turning at a slow speed like that, if you were to get your finger jammed in there, it could do a lot of damage. So you have to be very careful with that whenever you're working on the sharp knives, that you're just taking a lot of care for that. And if the flywheel is moving, wait for it to stop before you do any work on it. Even if you just pushed it by hand, wait for it to come to a stop before you put your hands in there anywhere. So there's the main bearing, greasable, the bed knife down here, and I'll just kind of go over how this whole system works. So basically what happens is when the wood comes down the chute here, it comes down right to the bottom here, and then these sharp knives are passing by like this. And so you can imagine the wood comes down and it hits against the face of the flywheel here. And so as that knife comes by, it removes about 3/8 of an inch of material. And that material then goes through here to the other side of the flywheel where it's going to be thrown up and out the chute. Now this knife, when that finally shears off the material, that knife will cut against the back of this blade here, almost like a pair of scissors. So once the material is then on this side of the flywheel, and this is turning at 540 RPM, air is being drawn in through all these slots down onto the front here. And that air being moved by those big paddles and the centrifugal force is what throws that up and out the discharge chute. Now there's also the twig breaker right there. And what its job is anything that was small enough to make it past the knife here, a small twig, say a 1/4 inch twig or something that came through there without really being chipped, it gets thrown to the outside by centrifugal force, and it gets hooked underneath there and just breaks it. So it just breaks it into smaller pieces so that it isn't going to be a big piece going up the discharge chute that would contribute to a clog. Here's where you mount your PTO shaft on right here. Same configuration as your tractor has, the 1 3/8 6 spline with a little relief for the pin to lock into there. That front bearing is also greasable. There's the grease fitting down underneath there. These are category 1 quick hitch compatible. This uses a 25-inch rotor that weighs 125 pounds. the main plate on the back here is just a little bit thicker than 1/2 inch. And then the paddles are all braced by this big plate that interconnects them all the way around. Now we're just in the back shop here where we're just checking over a chipper. This one's going to be sold in the crate, but there's a series of checks we still perform on them before they get shipped out or picked up. Here you can get a bit of an idea of what the assembly requires. You have to install the feed hopper and the discharge chute here, as well as the top half of the hopper housing. That's what's inside this bubble wrap piece here right now. And that's why you can see the flywheel exposed still in this one. So when we do the checkovers on these ones, even if they're not being assembled, we would check all the fasteners, all the hardware is tight, including the bolts that hold the knives on here. We would make sure that the twig breaker is aligned and tightened right here. We would set the clearance of the bed knife to the sharp knife, grease the main bearings. Here's the feeler gauge we would use to set that clearance on the bed knife. So between this edge and the back edge of the bed knife here. We also open each of the hardware packages and make sure that the proper components are all in there, all the right amounts of hardware and parts, and the discharge chute flapper is in there, deflector piece as well. And there's the PTO shaft, shear bolt. Just wanted to take a moment and hop over to our website here. It's farmerequipmentsales.com and just show you a couple things if you're thinking about ordering the chipper, or if you want to have any more information about the chipper. Pretty much everything we've been speaking about is in this website, all compiled here, information about the machine, lots of pictures, lots of videos, information about shipping. So I'm going to start at the top here. You click on this where it says in stock now. It'll give you a bit of a breakdown about how quickly it'll be available for pickup, and if it's being shipped, what to expect for shipping. So we need 1 to 4 days typically to prepare an order, and then it would be 8 to 14 days to British Columbia, 1 to 5 days at different destinations in Ontario. And then this is to a terminal. So if you click on this blue button at the bottom here, it'll take you over to our list of all the terminals that we ship these to for the flat rate prices. So wherever you are located, for example, if you are going to have it sent to Miramichi, New Brunswick, you would go to the Armour terminal to pick it up once it arrives there. They would call you once it arrives, and you would go there to pick it up. Let's go back here to the chipper page again. So when you're ordering it, you have a choice, orange, green, and dark gray. I think the orange and green we both have in stock right at the moment as I'm making this video. And then some other options here for some extra shear bolts. If you would like an extended warranty, it's typically 1 year, but you can pay an extra $100 to have it extended to 2 years. A set of knives, that's all 5 knives. So that's the 4 knives on the rotor, plus the 1 bed knife for the $350. Assembly, if you want to have it assembled, you can have us do that here, and then we would repackage it in a larger crate if it's being shipped, or if not, if you're picking it up locally. So whatever options you're going to pick here, then you can add it to your cart. That'll pop up a little thing here. You can go for a checkout later, but just show you the rest of this web page. This button takes you back to that same page with all the terminals listed on there. This is something I get questioned about quite a bit, about how much you can chip for various horsepowers of tractors. All these numbers here are pretty conservatively. You'll be able to do at least that. If you read some of the reviews down below, you'll actually see that some people say with around 19 or 20 that they're chipping up to 5-inch hardwood. So I guess it all depends on just how sharp your knives are on your chipper, if the material is fresh cut or seasoned. Typically fresh cut material will chip easier because the moisture in the wood will cool and lubricate as it goes through the machine, and usually stuff that's seasoned is a little bit harder on the knife edge. Lots of videos here from GP Outdoors, and then as well as some of our own videos. And then down at the bottom here, there's some reviews. So these first few are older reviews before we switched over to this website system we have right now. And if you scroll right to the bottom, there's some newer reviews posted here. This is actually where the fellow was talking about he has a B2601 with 19 PTO horsepower, and he was chipping some 5-inch maple without the tractor laboring or breaking shear pins. So that's must be best case scenario there with it all set up well. Anyway, I'll just pop up back to the top here and just show you what the checkout process would look like. So I'll just click on the checkout button. And then you would have a chance to just review what you've added to your cart, decide whether you're going to pick it up or have it shipped. And I'll just do, for example, a ship order and click on the checkout button here. So next you would put in all your information, your billing address and your phone number and your email and stuff like that. And then click on next. And then let me just see if I can, I think I have an account already I can just log into here. So just for our example here, I'm just going to use my own information and I'll just make up some fictitious address for my billing, and I'll say we're from New Brunswick just to demonstrate how the shipping part works. So let's click on next here, and then that will give me the different New Brunswick terminal options. Now all of them in New Brunswick are going to be owned by Armour. So I will just click on Miramichi, which we were using before in the example. And that flat rate is $300 to all the destinations in New Brunswick. So I'll click on that. That'll add the shipping over here to our total and calculate the correct HST depending on what part of the country you're in. Then you would put in your credit card information here. If there was some sort of a sale on, you would have this coupon code right here. Sometimes when I run a sale, I'll have a coupon for 5 or 10% off or something like that. So once that's all entered, you would click on next. I'm not going to put in all the credit card information, but basically once you've done that, it then just gives you a chance to review the whole thing and just check that everything is what you wanted. And then you can click on to submit, and you will get a email notification of the whole summary of the order. And I think it also sends some text message updates as we ship the order, and it gives you the tracking number once the order is shipped. So once the order is shipped, the next thing that'll happen is the terminal in Miramichi will phone you in the 10 to 14 days after it leaves here, and they'll tell you that it's ready to come and pick it up. And then you'd have to go and pick it up within a day or two of it arriving at the terminal. So you would just go around there. They would use a forklift to load it into your pickup truck or your trailer, and you take it home and start shipping. So I hope you've enjoyed our overview of the BECO 5-inch chipper. Over the last decade or more, we have sold over 1,000 of these chippers. They have time proven to be a very reliable and effective machine. You won't go wrong with one of these, and because of that, this is farmer approved.